Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am back at it again from my scuffed setup. Let me set the mood with some music. Damn, that's loud. That should be better. For those who don't know, I'm on the LEC show, so that's why I am doing this rundown from a hotel. Forgive me for the scuffed audio, but we're going to do our best to just go through the games as per usual. We're in week 3 of the LEC. Day number 1, we had a very eventful day and some very fun games to bite into and also discuss. At the end of this, we're going to do predictions as per usual, talk about the state of the league, and yeah, let's get into it. Astralis versus SK. LeBlanc, you, Emilio, as per usual, the bans. SK targets Sejuani, Maokai, Zaya, which is completely understandable and makes a lot of sense. Vi first pick, I think that's pretty good. I thought here that they would potentially look to trade Maokai Vi, or potentially go so far to ban Vi instead of the Maokai. I don't think that Maokai is something that Astralis necessarily has had, success with. I feel like it's kind of the antithesis of what 113 likes to do. But either way, we continue. Vi, of course, is a strong champion. Poppy Rakan gets locked in here with the range support out. Rakan is a go-to champion, but it also invites something that Jonghoon really enjoys playing, which of course is Nautilus. The pick of the Aphelios, which is not something that Kobe has been too amazing on. I think that he is definitely the type of player. Kobe is like European Gala to me, which is kind of weird to say because Gala is great at Aphelios, but when I think of Kobe, I think of Kaiser, I think of Zaya, I think of Tristana, I even think of Kaylin, but Aphelios not so much. And Jinx gets locked in here on 3. And not a super big fan here. You're playing Jinx into Vi, Nautilus, Aphelios. I feel like locking Jinx like this kind of reeks of desperation. I think additionally, not picking Aphelios yourself in the 1-2 is also something that is very strange to me. I don't know why you wouldn't prioritize objectively the strongest AD on the patch, especially when Zaya's out into the Vi. Especially if what you have in the position is a Jinx. Irelia also gets banned out. Target bans, of course, against Leader. Jax-Nar gets banned out, and enemy picks Nico. So Astralis don't give a damn about the Nico because a lot of teams in Europe haven't been successful with Nico. I think Nico requires strong early games, a conversion of jungle positions, and you need to leverage the fact that Nico wins and should win almost every lane matchup in mid because of how the Q works, the W works. Like, she is just way too strong of a laner. You should leverage that into jungle prio, river prio, and you should be able to snowball the game off of that, as we see in the 2 premium regions. We should add a new vocabulary to that, premium regions, rather than put everyone under the same blanket and call them major regions. Azir gets locked in, which is probably the highlight of the draft. Leader locks in Azir, and then Renekton on 5. He has to blind pick here, and considering the ban Jax and Nar to set this one up, the Gragas comes in, which of course is a soft counter to Renekton, but Renekton can lane, can survive, and can scale, and can be impactful in a game. Gragas shouldn't be able to bleed out the Renekton and turn him into nice crocodile shoes. We go into the game. The early game was quite uneventful. In general, I think there was opportunities for our friends at SK to do more. I'm just making sure that everything is fine and Gucci in terms of how it looks on your end. Maybe I can move my camera up so it makes more sense. There we go. Oh. So the early game was quite uneventful. I think that Poppy and of course Nico together isn't the best pairing. I think that there were opportunities for them to potentially kill Azir if they executed things a little bit better. I think that Finn had pretty decent conditions, and SK did manage to pick up a couple of dragons, considering they had bot priority with Jinx, got a nice bounce going, and the Poppy just started smacking it around. Interesting Giant's Belt straight purchase here for the Vi, not looking for any of the ED items that helps you find lethals on early Vi ultimates, but it does make you tankier for the later engages, so you don't get one-shots when you're going to commit to the 5 first. But it does make you a lot weaker in some of the early 2v2s, 3v3s, because that damage the Vi gets from, for example, the Black Cleaver components definitely helps her clear speed, and additionally, of course, it helps a lot in terms of finding the burst damage to kill champions in one CC combo. I think the big one for this, let me just page that I have. Jump forward to significant moments in the game. I think we have here. That's the 11-minute gank. Like, I was very surprised here, So Dos is walking onto mid. He already has him on mid lane, and I don't understand. This is such a basic mistake. But why does Certus burn his spells? Why does he burn his mana? Why doesn't he synergize together with his Rakan here to look for something? Because now when Dos is looking for this play, obviously maybe the play pattern of leader changes in the moment that Certus uses the spells, because it feels safe to walk on the wave. But I thought that there was more to be done here. Maybe if Certus stayed as a minion, then look for our flash. Keep in mind certain 11, so he can mask his ultimate and maybe they could have secured a little kill here on Azir. Instead, Certus stays on this wave and they take it back. To lead this into a Drake fight. Coming into this fight, usually a champion like Nico can provide you with a lot more value coming into this one. Obviously, Azir is a champion that needs to marinate the opponents, and looking at this moment in time, Renekton doesn't have Gold Drinker. The spikes aren't there for Astralis, and they are testing this Drake rather late. Let's just pan out. Coming to the Drake, Markoon gets it, and they are posturing forward. Here, Certus gets the ult on, and it was very strange that Astralis chose to contest this. They lose the Drake, and 2 kills go into the favor of SK. And we move forward, 13. There was a dive that went down. He had limited information for Markoon in regards to jungle, but he's going for it, gets the knock into the wall, and it's a very decent play, A lot of complaints about SK and the gameplay, but this was a pretty straightforward one. Leverage prio. Nico roams into this play. Jungle information doesn't matter as much. He one-shot Koban the turret with the Poppy E. Very good play. I think it's very strange to me that AD carries are refusing to run cleanse against Rakan, refusing to run cleanse against Poppy, which is just an add layer of bonus. But to not run cleanse against Rakan, I think is really, really disrespectful. I think that in most cases, you see AD carries running cleanse against Rakan in other major regions unless they have clear ways of denying Rakan, like, for example, Lulu. And in such a game, I think that cleanse could have been very helpful. I'm not saying that it would make him survive in this moment, but I feel like definitely the Ghost is the easier option here. We continue. Ghost, of course, scales super well and snowball fights and reposition. I think it's a little bit greedy, I'd say. The big game changer in this one was just this fight that we have around the Drake. You look at the itemization of everybody, it's rather even. You have Nico with the Rocket Belt, and the Crown finish on Azir. He should be relatively weaker here, very easy to proc it with maybe Gragas spells, Jinx spells, Rakan spells, even so far to Proto Belt. But Astralis get a pretty decent position here coming into this Drake. The thing always why Poppy is being picked so much in the current meta is that she received a lot of buffs, and also the level of utility Poppy brings into games, even in cases where the enemy isn't dash heavy, which of course in this case Renekton's in the picture, Vi's in the picture, Al's in the picture, and also Nautilus is in the picture. There's definitely value from the W. The ult inherently is super powerful because you can be game winning if it hits, and the fact that you can charge it and then let it go and pull it back very quickly. is a very powerful component of what Poppy wants to do and achieve. I like here what Finn does. I think that Finn is a player that has been going under the radar. I think in Champions Queue, when I watched him, he does super good. And I'm super happy to see that he's actually angling to gain pressure in the right positions. Here, Finn is taking a lot of space, and in a situation, already now he's doing something that a lot of European players are not doing on the likes of Annie and so forth. And Renekton, if he was standing here on the front to back, Gragas would just completely deny him, and he's good in isolation and looking for space. So I like this a lot. Really nice here from Finn. But the fight commences, and eventually SK walk up to check on him with a ward, which is a good read here from DOS. I think Finn could have maybe looked to kill that ward, but nevertheless, the Poppy lands, and it's a big one out of Fog of War on the ping. Super good. Harkoon looks for the finish, gets it of course, and now all of a sudden we have the situation where Astralis is on the back foot. He then finds a way to reposition, he flashes over, and now at the front line of Astralis is just hard committing forward. At first, aesthetically this looks kind of strange, but we have to keep in mind here that SK used a lot of their tools already. The Poppy W is down, the spells of Gragas is also using complete isolation, Zeratus has used all of his spells too on the Nico. So they use a lot of tools to try to latch on to Kobe and Jonghoon here, and they find themselves in a position where no one can really deny the Renekton. If we look at this as well, I think that you could argue that the relevant is going a little bit too deep there with the E. The situation where he keeps his E here and he just holds his spells could have been a lot better. But we let this play out, and this is where the Finn show begins. They flash forward, they chase after, they know that Execute already flashed over the Wild, and they manage to secure very important kills. SK now, of course, are on soul point, but it doesn't matter as much considering he came to take Drake. As long as Astralis, keep the positive momentum that they gain from this fight, then they can definitely find ways to, contest each Drake that is just coming up. Next big fight is at 22. I'm just going to jump forward to it because it's just another Drake. 22. Finn now finished 2 core, and you see that these kills and that gold swing that Astralis gained is so significant. In some cases, gold swings aren't as significant, but you can see here in terms of the gap that it bridges in terms of finishing the second item for blue side coming into this Drake and then coming into the next Drake with the third item. They're going to be ahead of the curve just enough to make SK just extremely uncomfortable in terms of their potential when it comes to these fights. Let's let this play out. The item advantage, of course, favored for Astralis. They find the Rakan. He is of the tankier variant, and you can see as the fight commences here, relevant with a good position. Leader ults the moment he comes out. But the key thing here is that all of the juice is being used on the back line, and the fact that Exekick here, he just gets hooked by the Nautilus before the death of Nautilus. That puts him in a very compromised position, and he has no flash because he flashed very late into the previous Drake fight. Now this snowball will just continue. Astralis maintain control for the majority of the game. Azir is very online, and the value of Nico is heavily diminished. Nico is a very strong early game champion, and her first core push. After that, some point, unless you're snowballing very heavy, the item buys that you do aren't as significant. So now Kobe has the QSS, once again reinforcing the argument for the cleanse. Obviously, Ghost is super nice, and you could argue that there's no better gold spent with this 1300 that he has right now in the pocket. But in terms of how it delays your third core, it definitely is significant. So to just jump forward to the game-deciding fight that puts Astralis. You can just watch this one too because it's rather gorgeous. Just look at this right before. Let's just fast forward. Okay, let's look at this fight. I like this Astralis fight start, the Nash start. Considering their guns, they pushed out bot all the way. They are denying SK's chance to actually farm. And additionally, they are really leveraging the fact that Jinx has no summoners. That is the key detail here. I like the space that Jonghyun is playing in, making it awkward for the enemy to enter. Good Nash start is something Astralis did in the previous split too. Just, it's always important to look for the imbalances and pursue value in cases where you are much stronger, right? And Exakick not having his flash here does really swing everything in the favor of Astralis. Something that Astralis did a lot better this game was their farm side. SK looked very stiff in terms of how they approached things and were overgrouping. Let's take a look at this one too. They're pushing forward, Renekton on the top wave with no TP, so SK are looking to fight. Renekton is showing now TP from behind with the Gragas, but you can see in this situation that the Azir turrets and Kobe and the Azir are just kind of outvaluing the opposition, and this Azir is completely online. It's crazy to say considering he's the leader playing it. Let's jump to the fight that I highlighted before. 33 moment. This is the leader moment where he really finds the team. I really like this is high class Azir gameplay because he flashes after Exakick, instantly finds the game-winning play, and Astralis showed that they are clearly the better team today. I would say here in this game, I think in terms of the inactive early game, I think it is the natural way to play things when you're the one playing the Azir and the Vi into enemies' composition and them having Nico. That is a new side to Astralis, of course. Azir is already a new side, but I think the key thing that kept him in this game was just Finn's play. I think Finn showed very high class gameplay here, so he gets my golden star for this performance. Really happy with what Finn is bringing to the table. Next game in line, we have Vitality versus Koi. Vitality versus Koi. So it is kind of weird how Vitality, now they play with Bo and now they play with Douglas. I get that Maoka is super strong, and Vitality are trying to find all of the picks that serve as a band-aid solution to the majority of gameplay and macro issues that might subside, because it makes gameplay very streamlined and easy. Maoka and Azir are the epitome of that, and XL showed exactly the truth of that. Here, Vitality ban Vi, Sejuani, Cannon on blue. Cannon to prepare the Renekton. So I think this was, premeditated that Vitality are just going to look to drop their bot lane in the cases where Milio and Yumi is out, especially when they see Milio Yumi being banned 1-2, they just drop the Cannon ban, because that's already like borderline a commitment to the idea of dropping a bot unless you're slamming Zayarakan on 2-3. Maoka gets picked, and then Aphelios Lulu just get locked in straight up. I think the Lulu, I was surprised to just see the Lulu dry like that, especially in the hands of Advien. But nevertheless, the enemy dropped bot, so there is nothing to be concerned about. Lulu denies Rakan, but it also invites the Blitzcranks and the Nautiluses, which is something that I believe Kaiser is more comfortable on. Azir gets locked in, Renekton get locked in, two pretty decent blind picks. You could argue maybe that Keisante is a little bit more durable in terms of what compositions can be thrown your way, but nevertheless they pick Renekton, we don't mind that too much. LeBlanc gets picked on 3, static shift LeBlanc, very strong on the patch, very happy to see both Koi, G2 and also Team Heretics recognizing how broken this damn champion is and actually like investing time and effort to mastering it, because in the end it is going to get nerfed. You can do the dematerializer tech on the new static shift and still play it on LB, because the way it stacks still works the same. Dematerializer tech is pretty much, when you use dematerializer on any type of minion, you are going to have increased percentage damage against that minion. and using a certain amount, I don't remember the exact amount you need to use on ranged minions, but you can get to the point where Static Shiv actually one-shots ranged minions. So that's the evolution of the Static Shiv horror that has been created, but the AP scaling is nerfed on live, but it's just something to note. I believe Uzi also did it today when he was playing Vayne. He just demat on the range creeps and he was one-shotting the wave, solving a big problem that Vayne has in terms of her wave control. LB gets picked and the enemy team bans Nami and Nautilus, denying Lucian Nami from the enemy's hand, and also the Nautilus inviting maybe to see if the enemy wants to play LB or not. Blitzcrank or not. But I would say Nautilus is better against LB than Blitzcrank is, so there is the additional argument there for Nautilus. Hobby Javan is banned and the enemy locks in Trundle. I like Trundle as a champion. I think that really fits the theme here of the enemy team. I think Trundle really fits well in poke compositions. And I think that the Trundle pillar really sets you up for success. And also when the enemy tries to engage, the ult really turns everyone into paper. Zeri Soraka is the lock-in. Surprised here that the Soraka is the champ of choice. But in the end, I don't think that Vitality's biggest issues stem from draft. The key concern here with the Renekton is that Renekton against LB and also Renekton against Gnar, that basically, you're going to have champions that, like, Renekton is a champion that is not going to match super well against LeBlanc and Gnar on side lane later if the game continues to that point. The key thing here as well is that the Philios Lulu should be strong enough in the bot lane phase to actually maintain control, and that is going to be super crucial in regards to how some of the early drakes play out. So Vitality are going to find themselves in a position eventually in the game, if the enemy plays the macro correctly, where they're going to be spread out very thinly unless they can find significant advantages that allow them to pressure super hard on mid-wave so Philios Lulu can't breathe, or stack early drakes to create a situation where champions like LeBlanc and Gnar need to group. In regards to how this game played out, a big question for everyone out there, I'd imagine, is how well did Douglas play? I think Douglas, I think he did what he could. I don't think necessarily he was the issue. I think that he played a fine game. I don't have any massive points of criticism for Douglas. In general, I think Vitality's issues stem a lot deeper, and I have to say in this one I was very disappointed with the level of play that Perk showed. I think it starts with the rune choice, the item choice. I feel in regards to watching Perks play this matchup and also discussing it with Jizuke, usually in this matchup either you go for scaling runes, which would be for example a Conqueror in such a game, or you just go commit to the lane idea of going Airy and then Domination second, Corrupting Potion, and really contesting the lane hard and showing what you're worth. Another very important pattern to this matchup is that you need to be very careful in terms of how you place your soldiers, because if LB can trade with you for free and you're not keeping a soldier stack for when she W's and then queue after her in order to commit to a trade, or you place your W's poorly as Azir, she can trade you for free, and you can't really create a circumstance where when LeBlanc of W, when she W's forward, that you have to queue to her location to pressure her off, but that's where LeBlanc just auto-queues you, and that, of course, is not going to be good enough for you to win. It seemed like Perks kind of lost his mind in terms of how to play the matchup. I'm not so sure what to think there. In regards to the rest of the game, I already mentioned, of course, the important detail of how, Koi's bot lane are able to control the lane phase. Like already this, having these type of conditions, I don't know what the point of Halo Blades is besides getting Taste of Blood in Domination 3 in such a matchup. This just seems very strange to be in such poor conditions, because this is going to bleed into the rest of the lane too. Basically, his first base is going to be amplifying Tome and Potion. Larsen's base, as he gets to crash his wave and base with so much more gold, he's going to TV back with so much stronger items, which of course bleeds through to everything else. And if your mid lane is under so much pressure and you're playing Maokai and Trundle, a champion that you can't contest in River, then definitely you're going to have a very hard time as Maokai. Douglas did what he could. I think Douglas played a pretty fine game, and I think definitely the rough part here was just they tried to band-aid their draft with certain things, and I think that this Azir was just under too much pressure in the early game. So Malrang now starts hitting this Drake. Azir is getting helped by Maokai to catch his wave. They try to cross over because they have vision. Com gets the chunk a little bit. Now Malrang just sticks around with his level 5, pulls the Drake. Maokai is on the top side of the map, and after Koi managed to crash the bot wave with the BF sword, Aphelios they just finished up this Drake, and it is already going to be the beginning of a very, very rough game for Vitality to play, because what are their conditions to win, right? They're not going to be able to deal with the enemy position champions too well on side, and it's going to be a rough one. Already now, right, the enemy has Soraka and Zeri. I feel like there's just a lower quality bot lane in terms of champions, and it's looking quite tough. Page here. The next big event in this game, I would say, is just the Herald is picked up by Douglas, and the roam down for Soraka and leveraging this window of tempo is pretty damn decent. All uncommitted time to the Drake. Just fast forward. It was very sad because this Herald was in fact never placed. So this Herald just was never placed, and the Vitality opened through mid to try to create space around the Drake. But it's not something that really panned out. Let's just check it again. I'm not sure what the idea is. It's like, if you're losing so hard in isolation already, right? And LeBlanc already is the shield. There is nothing Soraka and Maokai are going to be able to do to actually pressure LB. How Azir and LB works is that you need information to play aggressive, so the enemy jungle doesn't gank you as you're playing the lane. But he's losing as Azir against LB in isolation. Of course, at this point with the static shift, it is super hard to win, but it's all an accumulation of what happened previously in the lane that I already mentioned. Right? They're trying to contest through mid here, but Larsen's not pressured at all. Just take it easy. Yeah, just contest from the side. Very basic Infinity Force, but the enemy team is already on Drake. There's nothing really to be done. Bottom looks for the solo kill, but doesn't land. Now we continue. Now we see Maokai going down at the bottom side, and this is where we see the Herald just kind of run out. Very rough, very painful. It's like these are the small things that, you know, maybe are in your favor, and then someone says in your comms, yo, I just let the Herald run out, fuck my life. Because that's pretty much what it is, you know. Like Douglas didn't place it, now he opened on bot. They're looking for the replacement, and just kind of ran out, which is very tough. Next major event is this counter gank on top side. It's going to happen as Photon reaches level 11, so he's back with Gourd Drinker. That is the key detail here, that the fact that my boy here has Gourd Drinker, which makes him so tanky here and able to survive. Douglas with ultimate, he's going to get healed by his homie and Soraka ult too, and they managed to double kill. Very decent. Nice. Very good. The key thing still is, how does Koi snowball the game? I mean, how does Vitality snowball the game? Because sure, in 5v5s, they have some champions that can fight back and do well, even though it isn't like one-sided if they find themselves in 5v5s, at least Soraka can use the LeBlanc poke, that comes down to it. But if they're playing the side lane game, they're going to be losing. The question is, how much can they pressure around mid when the Aphelios is, of course, pushing the neutrals? And can they find ways to be creative enough with Maokai to actually gank them inside? So they managed to secure the first Drake, and I think this is where Koi began to realize, yo, we just play a split type of game. And this is where things become very frustrating for Vitality. They are trying to find a way to break through the enemy's gameplay pattern. I think the key thing is, if you want to make sure that the enemy doesn't pressure you on one side all the way in, you need to maintain control over your jungle and actually never ever go with Soraka and Maokai. But the issue is, even if you try to find creativities, you're playing exactly those champs, you're playing Soraka Maokai. How much does LB really need to have to care about the pressure of these two? Right? Is it really not resistant. Here you see as well the Nar is committing to the hull breaker, and the fact that we have 2 drakes is really going to stall out the game, especially as the soul is cloud and there is no rush for them to actually find themselves in 5v5 fights unless they have significant advantages, which is improve through just maintaining a game where lane phases are forced. See that Advien went to the top side here and dropped wards for the LB. Nar can push aggressively, and the fact that they also have the Aphelios Lulu means that they actually have pressure on Nash down to it if the enemy team actually tries to gank your Nar. This, of course, is a pretty fine window. I think that Upset really tried his best to break the status quo of the game by finding plays on side and also engaging on mid. I think that Upset was the only one trying something proactive in this game. Guys, it gets rooted, and it's very close that he dies here straight up. Maybe Comp pushes more aggressively and walks forward instead of backwards with the silence. Maybe he will find a kill, but of course he has limited information besides the issue on the bot, and maybe didn't feel to do so. So now all of a sudden you see this situation where Nar is going to finish Hullbreaker, 2 items finished on LB who is killed, also she's constantly pushing and pressuring in this area. There's no way for them to actually pressure the LB off. If this LB is sitting on the tier 2 here, then the enemy has enough information to always react appropriately if you try to force Nash. The only real thing that you can do, and you should look to do, is maybe Maokai or the Aphelios that is contesting these neutral waves to burn his Gale Force, burn his cleanses, and just look for something back around mid lane. You need to find yourself in grouped scenarios. That is like the only way you can find some kind of edge. But Larsen keeps pushing, Nar keeps pushing. These are the only moments that look rather dangerous, right? Koi didn't necessarily need to fight this, right? They don't need to fight this, they don't need to fight forward on this. They could have easily chosen not to contest this, but they gave Vitality fighting chances. Imagine they created a scenario where Larsen is still pressuring topside and he's securing and creating a base timer where he is on the top tier 2 with TP as the Drake spawn. This is something that you definitely, you can squeeze more efficiency there. Maybe if we look back just to make the comment that I just made a little bit less vague, let's take a look at the decision from Larsen. So he decides to, he just sticks around and then he decides to base. This is also another point of what makes the Drake footwork so strong. Because the skills with AP, of course, and with champions you get full value. He can stick around that region for the damage that actually Azir fights back with. So he can stick around in this pocket, and if Azir is the one defending, that is a lot worse for Azir because he's not a part of the initial standoff where Azir is very happy to be. The last TP's here to the bot side. In reality, he could have been top still and poked away at the Azrael HP bar, and I think it would have been a lot better at TPing dry into this fight. Right? We continue forward. Now Larsen's back at it again. I think they realize, yo, we should use the split push. We're going to generate more gold. The enemy is going to be torn apart, and Larsen information spotted here on Maokai just backs off with this pressure and so just now forward. Always this is the type of gameplay, right? It's like LeBlanc needs to pressure, and then the enemy needs to try to pressure off, and then you leverage that information to push elsewhere. You see the reaction from a face right away is to push aggressively on the wave and push. So it's very good. Shigenda here with the Hullbreaker. This Nar matchup, he scales super well into it, and he's just going to keep pushing. He has enough vision around himself. He can just place green trinkets for himself, and all Vitality can really do is try to find Maokai ults around mid-wave. They are attacking the wrong person, actually. It's like they're trying to kill LB over and over again, but in reality, Comp is the one without summons, and this is the guy they need to jump on. Upset looks for the play, which I think is the correct thing to do. It's very close that Comp dies, and this could have been a very big swing in the game. They're looking to start Nash over this, but I think they take way too long, and instead they target Larsen. I think with this Aphelios chunk, maybe they should have just forced a 5v5 around the Nash. Larsen buys a lot of time, and he's very mobile and nimble. He's going to, he's on some vibes. They spend so much time trying to chase Larsen instead of leveraging the situation towards Nasher, and now, of course, Comp is back on the map. Larsen has TP, will be able to TP back, so the Nasher window is completely gone. in that window where comp had no sums, they really needed to try to just shove their fist down the throat of the opposition. It just didn't happen. And in reality, you know, can't really expect that from this Vitality because the team cohesion is just not there. And now they're starting matches dry, and it just seems like they are frustrated. Nara's hitting bot tier 2, and the enemy team is already in position to contest this. How on earth is this a better Nash start than what we saw previously? It just can't be. You just can't be. So now they get pushed off. They realize that this decision is completely out of whack, out of sorts. Nar gets a full tier 2 bot. At least they got 2 TPs out, and I guess that's a consolation prize. But the TP cooldown is rather low, and it is something that's going to be back online in no time. A lot of healing on the enemy team, so it isn't completely crazy to buy Morello, considering it's very easy for Larsen to apply it to all of the opponents. Maybe finishing the whole Morello doesn't make much sense, but I think considering how everything played out after the Morello is purchased, having the most amount of stats you can have as you walk out on the map, it does make some sense, right? Like here he's actively fighting, they're actively posturing, the Drake, the Morello value is definitely there. Better to maybe have a billion or maybe a component to the next item. Considering how everything played out, the deciding moment happened here, the Morello did find value. Okay? Like Morello is an item that is a filler item. Oblivion Orb is a good purchase item, right? And sure, you can say that you can go towards a Void Staff, super juicy, or Death Cutter, super juicy, but now you want to isolate the last minute where he had Morello. With the gold that he spent, I don't think he could actually purchase any stronger items unless maybe use large rod elixir. That could maybe be a hard, right? But all in all, I just want to make that note ever so slightly. And now, you know, just looking at the highlight of the situation, Vitality, I'm not sure what they tried to accomplish here. They noticed that the enemy is on Drake, and Shigender is just kind of playing around with the opposition. And Vitality is completely discombobulated because, you know, they're just starting Nash dry once again. I think that the window for them to act with pressure in such a game is completely gone, and Larsen is completely scaled, and Nar and everyone is 16 LeBlanc, Nar is level 16, you know, they're super strong. I don't know what Lux is looking for here, but it is definitely not it. He seems to have no awareness of where his teammates are, and Vitality as a whole. I think this frame that we see here is just this frame right here. This encapsulates the state of Vitality. We fast forward, check the game-ending situation, game-ending play. Going out with the Nash after the Azir kill. They're just split pushing. The enemy team, of course, they don't have engaged pressure. They only have Maokai R, there's Ten, there's LeBlanc, some big bots, and they're just getting the fun. I think from this perspective, I think this was the best Koi game they played all season. And not all season, but all summer, right? I think that they played a very good split push game, and I think that they recognize after the 2 Drake fights that they took that they can pressure a lot more, and I think it's a good adaptation within the game. And I want to really give my gold star here to Larsen for playing a pretty damn decent game. And I think that this was very difficult for a Vitality without the coordination to beat such a competition to do so. Eventually, they get sick and tired of the enemy's shit, and they just flash in, just down. They flash in, and Douglas just goes. You can't blame him for this. This game definitely wasn't on Douglas. I think just the Azir conditions were way too shit. And I think Vitality couldn't recognize that they needed to actually pressure the Aphelios in order to gain some space in the game, because they always chased Larsen, and through that Aphelios could push every neutral wave, and Nar didn't have any pressure on him. But props to Larsen, Golden Star. He's the golden boy. Game number 3. Let's jump to the next one. I'm just going to check how much time we're in. 39 minutes. Oof, I'm doing it slow today. XL versus G2. XL versus G2. What do we have here? XL versus G2. I think G2, did a beautiful draft. I think XL, I didn't understand this idea of banning 3 junglers, especially banning the junglers that Peach was like successful on. I didn't understand this at all. I thought they were going to look to first pick Maokai and follow the recipe, but at the same time, I can understand that maybe from their perspective, if they walk into the BO3s, only having one way of playing the game, that they're going to be completely shafted and screwed. So there's definitely that layer to it. I think if there's a time to try something and branch out, I think against G2, it's perfectly fine to me. I don't mind that too much. I'm not going to sit here and say, yo, if they pick Maokai here, maybe they have better chances of winning, but I don't think they would have won anyway. So there's that. They ban Vi, Poppy, Maokai, which is a strange angle, but they first pick Nico, enemy goes LB. Happy that we see more LB. LB is obviously giga fucking broken. So I'm happy that Caps is just busting it out, because in the previous weeks I believe he did not. But he got used to it, and they use Slam Draven. Why not? Slam a little Draven against a fellow Draven player that has played a lot of Xayah when all ADs are open, and additionally, right, a champion that Hansama is really good at. And Nocturne gets locked in, so you ban all of these junglers to set yourself up for Nico Nocturne. Okay, it's a combo, it's whatever, but inherently I think Nocturne is pretty shit champion. Like in my mind, I don't see on what planet, like how on earth is Nocturne going to outvalue a Wukong? It's like, sure, they don't see you, but for fuck's sake, it's like you have so much tools to mask your ult already with Nico, and you can leverage Fog of War, and you can leverage information that you don't need Nocturne to set you up for success. That is my take on it. I think Wukong just outvalues Nocturne immensely. And Nocturne into Draven is perfectly fine, but play against LB is rather miserable. K'Sante gets locked in, perfectly fine, right? Just lock your full top side, so you have options to complete bot lane combos. K'Sante is a fine blind. Olaf gets locked in. Dream game for Olaf. Decent into Nico. She can't CC him. Nocturne can't do anything against Olaf. And Olaf is a decent matchup against Kona. Rakan and Kaiser get banned. I thought they were going to just ban Xayah. Felios here, honestly. But instead they invite the Xayah. And I think there's 2 issues here with XL and their approach. Is the fact that they ban, in this position, they ban Sejuani, which I think is strange. The enemy having a Sejuani LeBlanc pairing, I think, by 4. Also, Sejuani is not something that, Yike seems so keen on playing. Viego, of course, is a targeted ban, but Trundle seemed like, when I was watching this draft unfold, I was like, you have to ban Trundle. Trundle is so damn good into K'Sante, and also it is one of the hardest counters to knock down, because like you ult in, you get pillared, like what the fuck are you doing with your life, right? Additionally, still, you could pick Wukong here, but it is what it is. Trundle is perfectly fine too. Enemy goes Xayah, Nautilus, and I thought in this moment, right, it's like, you're gonna be doomed either way. When you drop here with support and the enemy has counter pick, you need to kind of set yourself up for success. And I think the way would have been, it's like if they banned like Braum and Trundle, that could have been a way, right? And trade Nautilus for maybe like enemy picks Nautilus, maybe play Leona into it, or the enemy picks Nautilus and use Heimerdinger into it. There's options on what you can do or cannot do. Another option here, I thought they're going to just slam Aphelios Braum, and then the enemy is going to pick a range support on 5, and then you find and figure out a way to survive that. You defend the dives, and then at 6 you can find big swing timers to bring yourself back in the game. But here, imagine G2 are very happy to play Braum blind into some of the worst possible matchups. Imagine G2's faces when they get to play Braum in a matchup that is considered really, really damn good. For those who have missed out the Braum train that Mickey has been on, basically you just slam max E into W, 1 point in Q, and that's it, and you become the tankiest motherfucker on the whole Rift. Very, very strong tech, and Braum was always a very strong scaling champion, but this makes him practically unkillable, because putting points in E reduces the cooldown of E, increases the duration, uptime of the barrier, and additionally makes you take less percentage damage, 5% additional reduction of each point you put in it. So it's really, really a cool find here. I was skeptical at first, but now I'm sold. I want to jump into Soul and play some Mustache Man. Looking at this game, G2, they botched a couple of dives, I'd say. They botched a bot dive, but luckily they got a gift from Peach. If you didn't see me doing this cringe thing, I guess I can show you. I sang peaches, 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 peaches. Pause the jazz for a moment.
The question about what you bring a piano? Peaches, 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 please lock in my what? Peach is.
What am I doing in my life? All right.
Peaches, peach. So for anyone that doesn't get the.
All right. Back at it again. The volume is good. Back at it again. X versus G2. Let's look at that bot dive initially. Maokai, like enemy Nocturne, is patting into the wrong side, and I think that they really misplayed the first dive that they created. I think this could have been just a freebie. We have Tumblr. They see full information on Nocturne, caps towards the mouth, peaches on top side, and there's another ward on blue. Everyone is pushing on G2's side, which is kind of strange. I don't know how Nico is getting so fucked, but it is what it is. You see that this dive here, I thought plain and simple that Mickey just waits a little bit, allows for Yike to actually have contact. I think this could have been a lot better. I think Mickey wasted his spells, and I think also Yike's combo placement, pillar placement is Barbaggio. That's why you play boring champs in solo queue, so your pillars can get as clean as before. Of course, Yike is a decent jungle. It is what it is. Alright, so he slips by it with the ghosty, and Hansama drops to 1 HP and he cleanses the ignite. XL, they survived this dive. W3, well played for them. Luckily, for G2, enemy jungler comes bearing gifts. He now walks into bottom side and he is trapping. Uses bot lane, still Draven 2 axes and Braum. Very strong. This is not something you want to run into. Make you use flash, but Draven still has his flash, and not having cleanse isn't the worst thing. So like it's a super cleanse game. Here we go. Mickey, very tanky with the E on, and the minion wave is fighting back. And Peach just, decides to just not flash or uses W appropriately. So he just dies. I don't know what the fuck they were looking for here, but a game that perfectly playable because, the wave bot was perfectly fine, and now became so much more difficult because Hansama just got to cash out. And you know how it is. Wu-Tang said it best. Protect your neck, meaning don't run it down when you gank bot. And additionally, cash rules everything around me. Cream. Draven is now rich as fuck, or suddenly a 1k move advantage. It's as if it's a mistake that on the dive never happened. Additionally, we had G2's bot lane just straight up 2v2 diving. They are having a great time, and as long as Mitondo is matching into bottom side, all is good. This is a moment where Roman Draven can be aggressive because the enemy Trundle is of course on Herald, which is a natural progression too, because G2 just have stronger lanes everywhere except mid, arguably, but it's quite contested in my mind. But at least Trundle can impact mid and at least with Nocturne, so it could have an impact. We didn't see a lot of camera work on mid, so I can't really say exactly what it is or pinpoint it, but having these type of conditions in Nico is kind of tricky. So yeah, all of a sudden, G2 was sick of XL's shit, and they blue, so they just said, okay, we see Nocturne now, so let's dive these motherfuckers bot. Limit is just getting straight up low on the turret, and they managed to get cash out, and that's all that matters. 2 for 1, Draven cash out. Zaya is still happy because it's probably one of the better outcomes in general, right? But this also completes the opportunity for Draven, and the snowball of G2 commences. This game, I guess, the big one was the biggest swing was just the Rift Herald fight, where we get to see Olaf in action. Let's find the moment. I don't know the exact timestamp. Forgive me. I have it in my notes. I have it in my notes. I have it in my notes. Look at my notes. Look at my notes. Don't have it in my notes. I don't even understand my notes. All right, I have the timestamp, I think. I'm trying to read my own handwriting. I think it's 1848. 1848 is the moment where BB just comes from behind with the TP. Abadage finds a little angle here, but this Olaf is completely unleashed. And of course, this little Nocturne can't do too much. The game is really open. This wasn't even a static ship LB, by the way. He just bought Luden's Echo. He just said, fuck it, solo AP. Not a static ship, I don't need it. We're preparing for the end game. And there's that. Let's look at the game ending moment. Just for the completion of it. Abadage finds a little 5-man juicer, but all too late because Draven crits you for 600. That's all she wants. Alright. XL, still, they can be a lot more accurate than draft, I'd say, in the 4-5 specifically. But I understand the attempt at branching out and doing something different. So you could say, yo, if they played Ozzy and Mocha, if Santo and 3, drop both, and Draven instead of junglers, maybe things could be better. Maybe true. Maybe very true. But I also get it. XL in the current position are honestly in a pretty good spot to secure the BO3s. So branching out and looking for something different could definitely be something that works. But I'm very happy that LB isn't dead in Europe because that shit was disappointing as fuck. Now jumping into the FNATIC BDS game, Sejuani, Maokai Zeri, and BDS choose to ban Milio. Over the Milio ban, the enemy locks in Yumi, of course, because Milio is out, and they slam Azir Aphelios. Azir Aphelios, I think, is a very clever rotation, and especially here because Zeri is out, I thought this was a very, very cool draft idea where they ban Milio and they create a circumstance where there's kind of a split up of which champions should be prioritized. Here you maybe could argue that maybe picking Aphelios over Yumi is better because Zeri is out, Aphelios is strong as AD. Just because here I think that Azir Aphelios are champions that are going to do very well against Xayah later on in the game in terms of how fights should play out, because it's very hard for Xayah to reach the pocket of Aphelios and Azir in a scenario where you don't have super many tools to engage. And your super is already Yumi, so there's that. Okay? Another important detail here is that you could consider maybe picking Wukong on 3 here. Considering Maokai and Sejuani is out, I think that Wukong could definitely solve some of the issues Xayah has, and then she could play Gale Force and then create more space. And Xayah is a champion, while her range is limited, she has the very powerful ult that can reset, where she can throw her spells and then reset the fight in a way and reposition and buy a lot of time with her ultimate. Because with Gale Force, she can definitely turn into an assassin who's up from damage, so massively huge. Obviously, the build that Noah went for in terms of just having Navori, in terms of DPS output, it is going to be way higher, especially after the Navori changes and buffs. But I need to highlight the fact that Gale Force does enable you to do a little bit more. Right? Syndra gets locked in, fine into Aphelios, fine matchup into Azir. It is what it is. I think they're just, in a lot of cases, when you drop jungle for 5, you don't get exactly what you're looking for. I was surprised to see the Sion ban here. I think that maybe targeting the Diego and looking to take Wukong on 4 would have been the better way to approach things. If the enemy doesn't ban it on 5, of course, because blue side bans last. Because then you'd deny FNATIC from having good Yumi carriers in the jungle. So you could maybe find something else, but these are the things that, of course, Razork plays. So Poppy gets picked, which is kind of weird. I was surprised to see Papushka here. It's like you pick Poppy into Syndra, Zaya, Yumi. Like what kind of value do you get with Poppy? It is a flex pick, and with the Poppy lock-in here, you deny Oscarinin from also playing the Poppy, and also denying Razork from playing the Poppy. So there's that. But this is maybe something where you could maybe send the ban towards, because Scion is not something that FNATIC has touched just yet, and I think that's something that you can invite. I was surprised by that one. I thought playing against Scion is something that Adam would love to play against. Instead, we see here in the 4-5 Gragas, Viego. Gragas can play phase rush against Olaf. This is something that Wunda talked about. Phase rush against Olaf, and you can find ways to actually win the matchup. And I have to say, those Oscarinin played super good. I have to say, plain and simple, I was so damn surprised that Oscarinin wasn't the MVP vote, because in my mind, he was by far the MVP of this game. And not by far, because honestly, Razork had a fantastic game too. But all in all, like Oscarinin and Razork were the two best performers in my mind, even though like Noah had a pretty decent game. I realize now as well, actually that happens later. That was like a thing that annoyed me, and then I realized it's in the last game. Nevertheless, BDS's composition looks a lot easier to play. I think they have a range advantage against the Zaya, and it's very hard for Gragas and Viego to actually create space for an AD or a range. Usually you want champions that can create space for you, and engage for you, and make the enemy use abilities for you. But that, of course, Gragas and Viego, them being the initiators, is the easiest thing. Maybe Gragas can find flanks and undermine the enemy's position, but if he runs into Olaf and Olaf marks him, then it's very hard for FNATIC, unless they're super far ahead, to break the enemy's position. Looking at this game, as highlighted from before, I think the early game is just kind of like a Razork Oscarinin masterclass. Like Oscarinin is really managing his lane phase well against the Olaf, and Viego, he managed to take 24 CS, and Shio wastes a lot of tempo here by looking to gank Humanoid here on level 3. He's looking for that gank, Humanoid reacts well, stuns him, and Shio is now super behind on tempo. Viego has finished his 24 camp clear and can look to pressure the Papushka in the jungle. So Poppy in this game did wolves into topside camps into Syndra gank, which is kind of a clever angle, but if the enemy is a Syndra and you have Azir mid, it isn't like the best. It just isn't the best. But I could see this working with a better champion combination. Let's say you're playing LeBlanc and Viego, maybe do something. Well, maybe not Viego specifically, because Viego already has so many options because he clears so fast, but it isn't a terrible idea for Shio. Now Viego takes the bot side grab, and Oscarinin doesn't have spells to finish off Adam. Adam keeps summoners, and Oscarinin running his flash can put him in danger, but he still has TP. Razork pushes out Shio, gets information on Shio to secure his bot lane. We fast forward a little bit. This is where the big advantage, the CS explosion that Viego has, is just commencing in the game. BDS managed to secure first Drake and FNATIC bot lane. This matchup that is definitely a lot worse for them against the Aphelios. They are falling behind, naturally. Really like this gank timer here, because Adam had no ult, because he was looking for lethal on Oscarinin before. This is 6 seconds before his ult comes back online, so that's really cool. I like that. I think buying Mercs here for Nuke is such a pussy move. I think that this kind of speaks to the state of mind of Azir, I'd say. I don't think that going Mercs in such a game, like first and try against Syndra, I don't think that speaks to a level of confidence. I think that Mercs aren't super valuable in this game. Maybe later, then we have double AP on the solo lanes, but buying it so early, I'm not a super big fan, because Syndra can pretty much play for lane and play for push, and you're not going to be able to manage the resources too well when she actually manages to get that base in. We continue forward. We have a situation where Oscarinin finds a juicy teleport. I think there was this moment in time as well on the swap where Gragas actually managed to deny Poppy from taking the red, which is super fucking good. Always when you're playing a split map and you're isolated, your job is to make sure that you don't die. And a good way of increasing your odds is to try to isolate the jungler when he's taking the camps on the other side of the map, because of course Blitzcrank and the Aphelios are showing on the wave, so you can isolate and you can find 1v1s, and that is the best case scenario for someone that is split mapping. Oscarinin, with his best Wunder performance, best Wunder impression, had a fantastic drag skill. So he stole the red, and he also at the same time denied BDS just because of the condition of Shio and how chunked he got of them diving bot. So now Olaf is in isolation, and the Zaya and Yumi that were under heavy pressure in the lane matchup actually get to breathe a lot here because of the play of Oscarinin, because the enemy doesn't have countermeasure. Oscarinin is already on the wave, and they're pressuring, and Adam now is on the turret, and they're looking to find a potential dive angle. Here they find them. They're not ready to look to see what's up. Maybe here, a little W into maybe Zaya spells, look what happens, see if you can force ult and then back off. Could be the case. I don't think they have enough damage to just kill him flat out if Adam chooses to run, but maybe they can burn some CDs here to make it a little bit more complicated for the enemy. Nevertheless, BDS are now matching. They put pressure on the bot, but you see the Gragas is already collecting a lot of platings, and BDS here, the only plate that they can really look for is to gank and pressure FNATIC bot lane. But the wave is in a position where nothing happens, and Gragas is already correcting platings, and the red side is losing so much minions. You see that Oscarin is level 9 against Adam's level 7. He's approaching level 8, of course. You can see the XP bar next to the summoner spells. Oscarin flashes the Azir ultimate, all fine and dandy. And now eventually we see this play on top side. Oscarin is just clearing the wave in preparation for his TP. So when the TP is ready and Vier goes around, they actually push her forward. The TP comes in at this moment. Like the confidence here from Noah, knowing his limits together with the Yumi ultimate, Gragas comes in. They manage to kill Crowny, which of course is a fantastic swing for a Zaya Yumi lane. Shio manages to push out Diego before he cancels his ultimate with W. But all things considered too, Shio in the cross map getting denied the red and then spending so much time on his top side, not clearing his bot side during this entire time. Razok has been rather efficient in the way he's cleared camps, and he's now walking out on the map with the Trinity Force. Two-level advantage against Shio. You can see it's a flat-out 2-level advantage against Shio. A man, you can see his XP bar once again. So Shio went into bot, lost the red, didn't clear any other camps, it was too low to do so. Based, went straight into top side, into an area where his camps were already cleared, and just masturbated and accomplished nothing together with his top side. Azir went to the bottom side, and Olaf tried to catch something in mid, but the lane assignment definitely got really, really fucked, and I think a big part of that is how Oscarin just messed up Poppy. I think maybe in that moment, Azir, just based on that play of finding Poppy and being able to push so early, gave him so much time. That's why I'm really praising Oscarin for such a game, because it makes such a big difference in terms of the value enemy can get in the cross map. So we continue. It was for the majority of the game just flat out dominance on the side of FNATIC. They found the isolated members, they got on the side, managed to kill Adam, and Noah played appropriately in terms of managing the wave. Full, his team was playing very actively. Super good, very clean macro play from FNATIC. Was two dodging the gank, what he was looking for, giving information to his team, super good. This sequence is also really gorgeous. Syndra's on the top web, she's free. Oscarin is dashing out before the spots the enemy. He Woody Fruities, Lavrov out of the picture. Everfrost kites him back. The hook does land on him, but Razok is here to defend, and they're swinging the big ass wallet at the opposition. This is a situation where FNATIC are winning 3v5 flat out on the map. They have better items, completed items, and the way they are pushing forward in terms of gaining information here is beautiful. Zaya's pushing mid for free, Syndra's pushing mid for free, and I really like what Razok does in terms of gaining information, cancelling recalls, pressuring forward, even going so far when the recalls finish here to actually, fuck up this Aphelios and burning his summoners. He bans Flash and Ghost, and that is painful. Zaya collecting, Syndra collecting, and even going so far to collect the enemy golems too. And this is where FNATIC even continued to play on bottom, because the conditions, even after the 3v5, is so much better. In the case here where Trimby aims to do on Popular, cancels her 2, maybe burn her Flash, maybe even goes so far to kill her, but it is kind of hard against Nimbus. We saw Humanoid did in fact kill the golems, and this was such a massive gold swing, and just a macro masterclass. Very, very beautiful here from FNATIC. Really, really good gameplay. It gets worse though. It gets worse. There is more. I love Noah's confidence, how he pushes forward and really, really plays to the limits. You know, I've seen KDA players and I've seen good players with good KDA, and I think Noah is definitely a good player with great KDA. He doesn't play with any fear at all, and it seems like he's really leveraging his champion to the max. Like, this is not in any shape or form like a player that plays for KDA, really. I'm just hoping that his stat line doesn't change his mentality, because I think that, you know, he's definitely a very, very strong player. I think here, if Oscarinian played this a little bit better, I think definitely this could have had better odds. Maybe look at E into R, maybe E into Everfrost, charge Q into R and Woody Fruity. There was definitely ways to gain more damage there. He could have gained more value out of the Hourglass too. But in the end, you know, of course, the kill goes to the Azir. Here, you know, I think that what Ivan did in terms of forcing Adam's spells here is perfectly fine. You know, he walks and then, you know, he moves out with the move speed, but I don't know what the fuck Humanoid is doing here. Humanoid legit, it looks like he clicked the minimap, because why the fuck does he go melee like this? You know, now Razork with the move speed, with the Yuumi Shurelias and the E of Yuumi, he is going to not have contact with the Olaf anymore. He's sprinting out, especially with the poor axe placement we see right here to the left. The Humanoid, like, he gets CC'd to 3 lives or something. I don't know what the fuck he's doing. Like, this is borderline, you know, drunk. Like, he just fucking clicks into Olaf and goes meaty. And then it turns into this sicko mode play where Adam gets a triple kill. Oh my goodness. And BDS are like, damn, we need to convert this shit. This is the best play, the best moment we're gonna ever have in this game. The enemy has a big ass wallet they're swinging at our faces, and we're not progressing in the way we need to. BDS now with the Azir, ready to go with the Nash's Tutti Frutti. Crowny with the red and white to hit it, and then Olaf also crossing the map. They're going to burst this Nash quickly. And all of a sudden, this game just turned on his head, which is crazy. BDS now, you're thinking to yourself, oh, they got Nash. We're going to see the BDS mistake-free, maybe not super efficient gameplay where they're just going to collapse on tier 2s and play it very safe. But instead, we get this moment where BDS just get kind of caught on mid lane, which is kind of crazy. This type of setup, I think, is perfectly fine and decent. The enemy wave clear, Syndra and Zaya, so it's not super easy to progress. But you manage to burn, for example, the ultimate hero, Razork, with the hook. Just having this pressure is definitely very helpful. Here, Aphelios is on top wave, and you need to make sure that you play around the fact that your Aphelios is on top wave. I don't know. In this situation, it's like Aphelios is the one that is making the macro decision. Because if Aphelios is on the top wave, you kind of need to appreciate the fact that he's on the top wave and then make sure that you're there with him on the crash. But here, of course, FNATIC recognize, this Azir is here. We see Poppy on top. We see everybody on top, but this guy is completely griefing. BDS managed to squeeze the turret, but then they stuck around way too long, and all of a sudden, this position and advantage turned into something sour. This is a big window here for BDS because they're in a situation where Aphelios has 3 core, so looking to pressure Nash here and using the moment they are grouped is super important. They have nicely placed blue trinkets here to support Oscarinian flank, and this is a very good setup for BDS. I don't like how Lavrov uses his hook though. I think that's not so great, and I think that they could have used their tools a little bit better to find ways to actually look to deny Razork this type of entry. Because at some point here, BDS just kind of stopped hitting. And I think another angle for Adam would be to maybe play in this pocket, maybe start fighting, and then maybe look for situations where they, with that information around this pocket, maybe look for hooks, Olaf can of course fight from this angle because the enemy is going to look to steal from this entry. Very hard to enter here against Azir and Aphelios because they're going to control the space super well. By here, I don't know if you see my mouse, I'm meaning through river. I think that maybe Aram could have positioned here more likely, save the hook, and then it's harder for the enemy to approach. We also have Popule to aim as well. The fact that they just don't have information over the wall makes things so awkward. And Poppy doesn't even know where this Aphelios is. You can, I mean, Viego is, but you can kind of safely assume it due to the fact that you have Pink here, of course, and the Yumi facing towards the wall. Yeah, Papushka is ulting air, and then Razor gets the Lito. They time it together with the barrel. Maybe yes, maybe no. I think this could have been a lot better in terms of how they timed it around the barrel. But of course, Poppy was completely distracted with ulting air, so he just lost the Nash. Good steal here for Razor. A soul as well. It's a disaster for BDS. Their biggest strength in terms of their macro is gone, and you see the Shios not focusing on the Nash HP at all. I think that BDS could have maneuvered around this better, because in all honesty, the timing to pressure Nash was quite good in terms of the state of the game in my opinion. At some point here, we have another super int from our boy Humanoid. They are looking to break the game. Oscarinin looks for his Woody Fruity because she was dead. He got caught in the jungle. They find no Everfrost on the Azir. He has Mercs. And then Humanoid, I don't know what the fuck he's doing here. He's just like... I don't even think that he is lethal with his R against the Olaf. Obviously, the Olaf will run forward. I don't know what the fuck that was. Once again, a little breathing room here for Team BDS. Now we have the Elder Drakes spawning, and FNATIC are just pushing towards it. Here, of course, you can make choices, like either you contest because you believe you're stronger, or you choose to go into the Nasher because of the over commitment of FNATIC's position into the Drake. But this is perfectly fine, right? You can contest. I need to highlight this Azir build. This Azir build is mental. I don't know where this Rylai's idea came from. It is very strange to me. I don't even see why you would want to play Crown in this game. I don't think it makes any sense. This is the type of build that I would say players that want to keep their job for the next season would build. I have no clue what my man's cooking here. This is a very, very weak Azir contextualized with the gold that he has. Because he's only 1.2k gold behind, but with the amount of power he has, it is super, super limited. No idea what Blood was cooking. So Oscarinin here, I think that he kind of wastes his ultimates. I have no clue why Humanoid throws the crab into the enemy, because obviously he could have secured it, and having crab would be nice. The enemy not having crab would be nice too. Oscarinin almost gets hooked here, which was dangerous. Maybe that was why the Rylai's was bought, to slow people so Blitzcrank can hook for free. Kappa, kappa, kappa. Razork plays around the pocket. Very hard for Viego to get space. You know, it's like now your front line is Viego and like Gragas. These champions have a very hard time actually creating space for you. Obviously, if you're the one fighting first, you're not going to have much of a good time. If Viego gets engaged on, that's usually losing because the champion apparently isn't so tanky or bulky. He wants to play the long fights and get the resets, and he kind of is a champion that wants setup from other lanes. That's why FNATIC's draft is a little bit harder, because it relies on Syndra landing ease, which is not super, super easy against the likes of Aphelios and Azir that definitely play with good range windows. So Oscarinin is trying to undermine the opposition by going through blue, which is good. I don't know why he's grouping here. I think it would be very nice if he played in the pocket around the blue buff to pressure. Adam goes and hits the mid wave to heal up with his lifesteal, obviously very normal. And the dance continues. Nothing in this position is going to, really point to the fact. So here, the example that I mentioned before, it's like if Oscarinin runs into Olaf, he just loses. He can't win the isolated 1v1, so Adam can just begin to hardfight him, and he doesn't even need to necessarily R before Oscarinin Rs. that's like a decent trade considering they need Gragas to disrupt the position of Aphelios and Alzir. That's why I think BDS's composition is easier to play here because Zaya doesn't have much value in such a game. Poppy ults air, but he gets the smite, which is a very crucial one. Chio gets annihilated here in the end, and BDS decide to kite back. Oscarinin wants to keep this fight going, but he goes a little bit too far as he eats Adam and gets Blitzcrank grabbed, and he gets snacked on, which is of course a troll, because maybe if he doesn't die here, maybe they can actually defend this Nasher even against the Elder, because the enemy wasn't entirely healthy, but with Oscarin's death, there's no way of committing to this. So big swing here, and I think this entire Elder situation kind of plays out in the favor of BDS just because of their strength of the composition. And the main thing is, right, it's like Humanoid needs to fish for strong E's that are going to be game breaking because of how strong he is, but that also comes at such a great risk because he also needs to push it forward against the Blitzcrank. So now BDS have Nash and Elder, and usually when you have Nash and Elder, think to yourself, oh, we can actually win. But what is the extension? What is the situation that occurs that completely throws the game? Lavrov looks to flash and looks to end the game. I don't know why, in this particular position, I guess that BDS, they have Elder and really want to force a fight, but right now they're chasing ghosts. In all honesty, they need to leverage Nash to maybe secure another inhibitor, and that there's going to open up the game enough for them to secure the next objective and then win the game. The game is going on for 38 minutes, so people are getting eager to go home and eat some chicken nuggets. You have to play as efficiently as possible. Adam gets woody fruited, and he ults late because he's looking for a fight with Elder, understandable. And here, a beautiful stun from Humanoid, and I love this. This is so beautiful from Noah. A lot of ADs would just let their Syndra die and lose the game. Well, what does Noah do? He pushes forward like a damn maniac to save Humanoid. He pushes forward, R's, and he hits, and he finds the isolated. It all started off with the back of a beautiful combo here with the Electrocute dropping Crowny to incredibly low HP because Humanoid has Death Cap and fully stacked passive. So of course he unleashes his power, and Noah just pushing forward. I think this is just like beautiful mechanical play from FNATIC. It really keeps them in the game here. Ozzy dies, and with that also the Nasher and the Elder. Now the continuation of the game is going to drag on to the point where the objectives are going to respawn, of course, because both teams are aware of the fact that if you're the one engaging first into a position, it's going to be a lot worse. I also wanted to highlight here Nuke as they were pushing down. He bought Shadow Flame. I think he bought Shadow Flame. I'm assuming and hoping that he bought Shadow Flame because he, in fact, needed power. Now he sold Shadow Flame and bought a Death Cap, lost 900 gold, but in terms of, like, if he thought he was going to end with the Elder and Nash, then going out on the map with the highest amount of power makes sense. Now the same thing. It's like Death Cap is inherently much better than Shadow Flame, but maybe he just couldn't afford it and he just wanted power. Even in those cases, maybe just buying Elixir is better than finishing Shadow Flame, but it's perfectly fine. Maybe he has Elixir, I don't know. So now FNATIC are facing the problems of their composition. They have to figure out some crazy-ass way to actually win this game. This Elder is very deep into the game, so it's a 18,000 health objective. Gragas TPs, and they are now trying to face check into this fight. They get the hook on Viego, the resurrection happens, and in this moment, BDS, if they don't get that fight going for themselves, like here, I have to just highlight, I think Adam plays too fast here because he's pushing forward and ults. He's giving Syndra and Zaya a target to hit. I think he should just play back, let Azir and Aphelios do the work. He doesn't need to unleash, he can just wait. Viego's already fucked. Azir and Aphelios can hit for free. We continue. Good Gragas ultimate finishes Adam. He's quite paper at this point, of course. And now the reset for Razor. Now BDS, all they need to try to do is try to get out, maybe have some fighting chances around Nasher. Probably not, of course, because they are 3v5, but a beautiful stun here on Crowny through the wall ends and secures the game for FNATIC. Very controversial game here for FNATIC. They threw many times, but they showed a high level composure against BDS, and they won out in the end. Let's be a one, silly games happens. All in all, I think FNATIC showed a lot of good plays. I wanted to find this fight where Zaya had GA. I'm trying to find that fight where Zaya gets hooked actually at Raptors. I'm trying to find when that is. When is that? I don't even know if she had GA. She gets hooked at Raptors. I'm trying to find that moment. Sorry guys for just skimming through. I'm really curious about this moment. It's maybe earlier. I can't find it. I'm going insane, I think. Whatever. It is what it is. We'll continue. Golden Star, Razork, and Oscarini. 2 players. The Oscarini sure he got hooked and he misplayed the 1v1 against Azir, but I think in terms of the nuance of some of his level of play in this game, I think he did some high-level shit, and I like that. I like that a lot. Last game, because this review is definitely dragging on. We're currently on 1 hour and 20 minutes. FNATIC versus BDS we talked about. The last one is Mad versus Team Heretics. So, Mad Lions ban Maokai, Draven, Azir. So just, okay. I don't know what to say about these bans. The Team Heretics ban Vi, Rakan, Lucian. They want to set up the case where the enemy team doesn't get the melee Lucian combo, but honestly, I think on 13-11, Zaya is just a stronger champ than Lucian, and that's why we don't see a lot of Lucian. It's like the first items that you can buy is just the best one is of course Kraken and Static Shiv, and Lucian doesn't buy them well. I think the items definitely ever since Mythics dropped, the items decide the meta. So Milio gets first picked. I think the Lucian ban's kind of useless because I think that they would play Zaya either way. Aphelios LeBlanc gets picked. So super good. LeBlanc, the juicer. Very happy people play LeBlanc. I think this champion is completely broken. Annie gets picked. I think this was probably wrong. I think here, if you're Mad Lions, I think you should play Kesante. I think you should drop mid and play the likes of Annie, Nico, Ari. If these are champions that you know the enemy leaves open. I think picking Kesante here for you know JC is just a good one. I think another angle could be to just pick Wukong. I think these champions are gorgeous and very strong because the enemy is going to pick Yumi no matter what, so you can leverage that to your advantage. Going into 4-5, Team Heretics ban Kesante and Renekton, very strong blind pick top laners, and Mad Lions follow suit with Sion and Sejuani ban. I don't get the Sejuani ban at all. Why would you ban Sejuani when you have Milio? Why would you ban Sejuani when you have Zaya? Why would you ban Sejuani when your enemy has LeBlanc? The Wukong is, of course, the best champion to pick in this position. Yumi Wukong is a very strong combo and gives a physical damage carry to the LB. So, very strange that Wukong is allowed to be picked like this. A big blunder by Madman. Chasey Gragas, I think every time you see Chasey Gragas, just bet against it and make you money. I believe this guy is 0-5. He doesn't play it that well, and it's trouble. Rek'Sai gets locked in, and Rek'Sai against LeBlanc is no fun to play. Rek'Sai needs to snowball this game super hard in order to be effective. The enemy picks Poppy. Already, you know, Rek'Sai against Wukong will be outvalued in any fight that he's in. The only thing that Rek'Sai can do is pressure the fact that Wukong doesn't clear well, and Rek'Sai can maybe find early game advantages. But I think at pro player highest level, it's very easy to secure yourself against this, and you don't have matchups that are that completely one-sided, especially because you're picking a Gragas top lane. So I don't like that too much. Poppy gets picked on 5, which is a decent champ. I think Poppy ult, as mentioned before, Poppy without gold, very valuable. Poppy with gold, unkillable. So win-win situation in most cases, even in situations where the enemy doesn't have dashes. But here they have Gragas Rek'Sai, so Poppy will find value. I like red side draft a lot more here. Looking at the game, there was a bunch of 2v2s in top side where Poppy died, and Evie was put on the back foot. You know, Evie died a lot this game, but I don't think necessarily that his scoreline was indicative of his performance in the game. I think that there was maybe 1 or 2 deaths that were quite bad and pointless, but I think all the other deaths kind of just was a part of how the game needed to play out in terms of how the fights were played out. So a big thing that was so frustrating to watch here is that from level 1, FNATIC used Flash and Cleanse. They found this FNATIC just oinking around here. This is just an little gap. Snacking him. Really nice angle, and FNATIC is Flash. And he has to also burn Cleanse. Right, thinking to himself, oh fuck. Playing red side bot lane against Rek'Sai, and you have no sums against Xayah and Milio, who are stronger than you early and can manage the wave. And FNATIC used potion. Oh, this bot lane is going to be in trouble. Every wave that is bounced into the turret, they're going to threaten dive. Every wave that the enemy pushes out, they're going to be ganked. Because the enemy team has Annie mid and Rek'Sai. What went down in this game? Sure, Mad Lions, they Wukong pathed the bot to secure the bot lane and dive, perfectly fine, but then Mad Lions should be able to crash the wave, and then when it bounces, there's a little gank. So you stronger. You know, all those details matter. Ilioya gets spotted on wards, and Ilioya wasted a lot of time trying to pressure this Wukong, but this Wukong managed to secure his camps. And Ilioya just stole away blue. Now, Ilioya shows on the mid wave, which secures the bot. They don't scared at all. Xayah went for a cheater base, and now you have this big window of advantage. Xayah has flash, ghost, double longsword against an Aphelios with no potions, no summoners. That should be like a thing of beauty, a thing of beautiful opportunity here for Mad Lions. But Ilioya is playing for the crab on top side, and he's playing for jungle advantage. Yet I like the fact that Chasey E's first to force the W of Heavy, just so Ilioya can eventually tunnel and look to commit all the way into this fight. I really like the angle here from Evie. He finds a little jiggle downwards and knocks Rek'Sai into the wall. Really saves this play. Wukong stacks his Conqueror, extends. Very, very happy with this. Now Niski's coming in. He's stacking the stun. He was the last point, and they are trying to find the lethal hit on Chasey. He has E ready and Annie stun ready, and they swoop him and smack him. Niski's going to receive double buffs. And now, you know, this topside situation played out well for, of course, Mad Lions. And Annie is now very, very far ahead. We see this pip now on bottom side. I have no clue what the fuck happened here. Because somehow, you know, Mercer used exhaust heal, traded a lot of HP, while Xayah and Milio lost all of the HP. I have no clue what happened in the trade. I'd imagine due to longsword advantage and no sums on FNATIC, that they should be able to get out of the wave and avoid heavy duty trading into the wave. I can't really analyze it. We didn't see too much of it. Translations. And I felt like FNATIC, you know, maybe there was opportunities there to push more with Rek'Sai rather than pursuing Wukong camps. Maybe there was a way for Rek'Sai to actually dare to play camps and pressure and spend more time around bottom side to break the ankle. But nevertheless, the outcome is good for Mad Lions. They are very far ahead of mid, and Xayah will use the seize advantage back in the base quite late. Now in this moment, Niski uses R on mid lane, I believe. So basically, Evie gets low, and use R, Niski has Prio, you just for the minions, which is the best Evie could do out of this situation. Niski boots air, and Evie used it. I think he played it as good as he could. He booted out the minions, and then he's Danny almost into the turret, but she dies in Tibbets. I think Evie played this well. You know, he has a shitty scoreline, but you know, what can I say? It's not like he did anything inherently bad based on what we saw on the screen, right? He played the top 3-2 really well. That was good. But this is where the craziness starts. Lions do want to use all the power, all of the juice of dive, and Wukong is ready here. But yeah, 3v3, I have no clue why they want to fight this. This is a Wukong dream fight. He's going to outvalue Ilioya, and of course, the enemy team doesn't have Tibbets. They stun the Evie, and he just ease in because he wants to get the fight going, and Jankos gets a fat triple kill. Once again, Evie died again, but should I say this is bad dev? No, 0-3, but he's doing fine in this game. You know, Evie is the victim of a lot of critique, and rightfully so. There's a lot of games he hasn't performed. For this game, I think he plays perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. Right. So now all of a sudden, based off of this Rift Herald fight, look at the items on the red side. I already talked about how much better the draft is, right? Yeah, a lot of shapes of form, but now Wukong has Divine Sunderland, and LeBlanc has a Static Shiv. Now it's just a question of, can Team Heretics just close out the game appropriately? We fast forward to some of the key moments in the game. There was a top dive here at 15:30 that I really liked the execution of. Crashed the wave and they played from the top side because I was on the bottom side. They cracked chasing into the turret. I think Evie maybe could have played this a little bit slower, wait for the Herald to show up. So this could have been a clean 1-0. This is kind of troll from Evie. But that's one. Later, you know, I think it's a big fight that unfolds is very decisive for the game. Yeah, I think you know, the enemy team is starting Nash and they have vision over it, and that's why LeBlanc is crossing. She did crash bot all the way. So this is, you know, good LeBlanc play. She crashes bot all the way, denies the enemy minions. The enemy tries to force Nash to create a reaction so Viteo can't hit bot for free. Mad Lions are just hitting Nash to defend bottom turret. Now the bottom wave is quite even, and they're happy with that state. As long as the enemy group is better for them because LeBlanc is getting so much more value on the side. Viteo could maybe walk on the top side to start push. Wave, and I think that Team Heretics are pushing forward a little too deep here. LeBlanc is on the mid wave, and I think we could have just played this a little bit slower. I don't think Evie needed to push like this. And the fight continues, and Wukong finds a very, very good turn window here and knocks up almost the entire team. I don't know what Elioya was looking for, but I don't really blame him. He's playing a very dog shit champ. He's looking for a pocket to commit to flack it, but Kazi just flashes in himself, his life for it. Maybe in this moment, Kazi could just take it a little bit more easy and let Elioya finish the job. Now, with everything used, he has time to life, just fight back. This is the moment where Yuumi and Wukong really show their power. This is when I jumped into Our Dominate stream and say, haha, they nerfed Wukong's Claire. He's probably going to be useless now, haha. And then I left. Considered to be a dickhead. But that's the sack way. Let's go to 24. We get out a replay and Mad Lions spot LeBlanc on the bottom side, so they just force Nasher. The game state is very rough for them, so they need to use any type of leverage they have to create chaos in the position. Team Heretics managed to even secure the Nasher, and they managed to ace. It's pretty much over. This, for me, was by far the best Team Heretics game played this whole season, and it kind of makes me excited for the matchup tomorrow, which is FNATIC versus Team Heretics. This dive from Evie, really clean and clutch. Bonks out Emilio, goes for the dive to pressure with the Nasher. I like this a lot. You know, he survives somehow, he picks up his booklet in America, and the enemy team, you know, Team Heretics get the fight is very favorable for them as they are much stronger. And the game is over. So is day one of week 3. Looking at tomorrow's matchups, Excel versus Astralis, I would say Astralis is favored to win that one. BDS versus Vitality, the battle of the bad. You know, this Excel versus Astralis game is really massive because if either of these teams win this game, then they are pretty much secured for the BO3 stage, which is a big plus for Excel. And I think at this point they're both going to make it because of the state of Vitality and SK. BDS versus Vitality, like Shio is really running it down. Right? Like, she was really, really running it down. I forgot to give gold star. Team Heretics, gold star to the Theo, and also gold star to Jankos. I really like the LB play of the Theo, and also Jankos Smurf. Jankos Smurf. Exa versus Astralis. I think Astralis is going to take that one. BDS versus Vitality. I have to lean BDS just a slight bit. G2 versus Koi. G2 is going to take the one. Team Heretics versus FNATIC. Even though today's games, Team Heretics played better and FNATIC were a little bit sloppy, I think that some of the mistakes FNATIC did is like once. It's like Syndra walking into Olaf and giving triple kill. It's like it's really whatever, because most of that game was high class from FNATIC. I have to say though, I am kind of liking Team Heretic's approach to draft a lot more than I like what FNATIC is bringing to the table. So that could be a potential edge for Team Heretics, but I think FNATIC should be winning. Eski versus Matt, Matt should win that one. And looking at the total standings, right, of everything, in terms of how we think things are going to be panning out. Like in terms of the predictions I made in my LEC rundown, I think a lot of it is going to land, but the key thing here that is different is the Team Heretics beat Mad Lions, and I predicted Mad Lions to make the work happen. Mad Lions now on a 3-lose streak. Let's see if it maybe continues. Maybe they're going to save SK Gaming and really put a dent to what Team BDS is trying to accomplish. But currently it looks like Team Vitality is not going to make it. So currently, you know, Team BDS, very important game for them against Vitality. That is where things can get crazy. Maybe a world where Team Vitality wins that one. We might have a 3-way tie at the bottom if things play out as expected. All in all, that's it for me. This was a long LEC rundown. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far into this video, bless you and bless your face. I'll catch you guys on the flippity flop.